Hi there. If you are a ambitious woman journeying towards menopause over 40 and you are beginning to struggle with a whole host of symptoms that come with this phase of our lives, you are not alone. And this episode is for you because today I am talking about estrogen dominance and how we can overcome all of the multitude of symptoms that a woman might experience as she's journeying towards menopause. My name is Allison Acera. I'm a registered dietitian and hormone health coach, and I help women overcome hormonal chaos, build better energy, clear the brain fog, get better sleep, and ultimately help them get back to being the best versions of themselves again. So estrogen dominance, this is a really important concept when it comes to understanding hormonal balance. So just as for context and as a review, perimenopause is that 7 to 10 year phase leading up to the menopause. The menopause is really just one moment in time, and that's defined as really 12 consecutive months without a period. So anything thereafter is postmenopause. And in the perimenopause phase, we can really kind of roughly break it down into three subphases. So we have early perimenopause, and this is characterized by, maybe erratic periods. They're not as regular as usual. And we're starting to see progesterone levels generally start to decline. And estrogen may stay the same, or it may begin to fluctuate a little bit. In mid-perimenopause, we're really starting to see those progesterone levels continue to decline. Periods are definitely getting much more erratic and irregular. And estrogen is really fluctuating fairly widely at this time, and wildly. So the highs are very high, the lows go lower. And then in late perimenopause, we're really seeing both declines in both of these hormones, both progesterone and estrogen, okay? So, the symptoms that we're experiencing in this phase of our lives, really can help give us some clues. Our body is giving us clues that things are off balance, right? And so what I really want to highlight for women is that while menopause is not something we can do anything about, we're on the journey, this is part of being a woman, we can absolutely change the course of how we experience it. And so I really want to give women a lot of hope that actually there are so many different lifestyle choices that we can make that really can help us bring our hormones back into balance, really ease our symptoms and our suffering. So suffering is not a foregone conclusion when it comes to menopause, the menopausal journey. So estrogen dominance, let's get back to that. So estrogen dominance is, again, it's an important concept. And really what it means is that estrogen levels are high in relationship to progesterone. So in a normal cycle, when we are premenopausal, we have a 28-day, roughly normal cycle. That week or so before our period begins is generally considered PMS week. And we're really seeing both progesterone levels and estrogen levels decline, right? And symptoms that occur in PMS are sometimes very similar to those symptoms that are occurring in perimenopause. Only in perimenopause, instead of it just being, right before a period, we're kind of experiencing these symptoms over the course of the month. And this is often can be explained by this imbalance in estrogen and progesterone. So in my first YouTube video, I talked about how we can really support progesterone levels, because if progesterone is going too low, that's going to set the stage for an estrogen dominant situation. And we know that we can really support progesterone by eating the right kinds of foods with certain nutrients. We can really manage our stress, because if we're overstressed and we're producing cortisol, we're not producing our sex hormones, and therefore, we're not really producing enough progesterone to really maintain that balance. In this episode, I really want to focus on how we're really managing our estrogen, the estrogen side of this equation, right? So if estrogen levels are going really high and maybe progesterone is staying, in a fairly nice range, that's going to set the stage for estrogen dominance, okay? So before we dive into any solutions, let's talk about what can cause estrogen dominance. Now there's so many causes out there. We don't have enough time for all of them really, but I'm gonna highlight four in particular. Now the first one, nutrient deficiencies. This is so common with women, for lots of reasons, right? Whether we are consciously or unconsciously restricting our energy or our calorie intake, that's going to have a net effect on the nutrients we're actually taking in. So maybe we're looking to control our weight and we want to cut back calories, right? This is kind of a conscious way we might be restricting food intake. And unconscious might be where, as many women who are just very active, have lots of demands on their time and life, are just don't necessarily give themselves the time to dedicate to having, good standard, like balanced meals, right? So they might be missing meals, they might be just grabbing something really fast, maybe just kind of grazing over the course of the day. But this is how this can set the stage for just ultimately not getting the nutrients that we need in. So without the nutrients, we don't have the building blocks to actually support our hormone production or our elimination. Okay, so we want to make sure that not only we're producing these hormones, but that we're actually able to metabolize them and then ultimately eliminate them from our system through our liver detoxification pathways, as well as our digestive tract, our gut. Okay, so nutrients deficiencies is the first. The second is connected to nutrient deficiency, and that is digestive imbalances. So we can certainly see nutrient deficiencies when we have compromises in our digestion, where we're not actually absorbing the nutrients from our food, right? And we can also see digestive imbalances when ultimately, if we're struggling with constipation, right? Lots of different ways that we experience digestive imbalances, but our digestion, as I just mentioned, is crucial for eliminating excess estrogen, right? We want to have our ovaries, our adrenals producing estrogen, and then we use it, our body gets the benefit from it, and then ultimately we want to clear those excess estrogens, and if we don't, they're gonna recirculate back into our system, really contributing to that estrogen dominance situation, okay? Number 3, so a biggie here are these endocrine disruptors. So endocrine disruptors are basically these chemicals that are everywhere in our modern day environment, and they mimic kind of the effects of our hormones. And so basically, plastics, right? Parabens in beauty products, BPA in plastics, pesticides in our food. These are all sources of these endocrine disruptors that ultimately can have an impact on the way our natural hormones really function in our body. Okay, so we want to be really aware of these potential endocrine disruptors in our environment. And then number 4, I want to highlight inflammation. Now, chronic inflammation can really set the stage for an estrogen dominance kind of a scenario. We know that the more inflammation in our body, that's going to raise cortisol levels, and that's going to have an impact on estrogen for sure. And so inflammation can come about in lots of different ways. So digestion, right? If we have inflammation in our gut, that's going to cause more systemic inflammation in our body. A diet that prioritizes more processed foods, refined carbohydrates, added sugars, so that can set the stage for inflammation. Lots of ways we can have inflammation in our body. Okay, so those are just 4 of kind of the potential risk factors for setting the stage for an estrogen dominance kind of a scenario. Now let's really talk about some solutions, right? Ladies, we want solutions, I know. Okay, so first one I want to really highlight is the importance of dietary fiber. This is absolutely crucial. It's so crucial for women who are in this phase. Dietary fiber has such incredible benefits to our overall health, and most of us aren't getting enough of it. So when it comes to estrogen dominance, and we were talking about the importance of liver detox and digestion, fiber is going to really support both. And so we want to make sure that over the course of the day, we're getting in our whole grains, our fruits and vegetables, our legumes, our nuts and seeds. These are all really wonderful sources of fiber. And then not to mention the benefits for our health, our heart health, our blood sugar, lots of reasons to be eating more fiber. Number 2, we want to make sure that we are really, as much as possible, minimizing those endocrine disruptors, okay? So we cannot be perfect, and really, again, like they really are sort of all over our environment, but there are things we can do really offset them and really really kind of get them out of our environments. So easy places to look, right? We can substitute or swap out our plastic containers or storage containers for glass containers when we're storing foods and leftovers. We can choose organic foods as much as possible. Now, when it comes to, if we're thinking about the resources we have to purchase organic, the Environmental Working Group has a wonderful resource on this called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen list. So the Clean 15 are the 15 fruits and vegetables that tend to be lowest in pesticide residues. The Dirty Dozen are the foods that tend to be highest in pesticide residues. So it just gives you, a nice understanding of like how you can sort of spend your dollars if you're budgeting and want to really think about what makes the most sense when it comes to purchasing organic. I recommend going organic as much as we possibly can, but recognizing that, we might have some limited resources to do that. Okay, so I mentioned dietary fiber, endocrine disruptors. We really want to be thinking about stress. And stress, again, is something, whenever I'm talking about hormones, I'm talking about stress, because so many stressors in our environment, in our external environment, but also physical stress, there's mental stress, there's emotional stress. And our body doesn't necessarily discern between what is actually happening. It just senses that things are, that there's a lack of safety. And so as a stress response, we're really building that, producing that cortisol, and that is ultimately going to cause a lot of issues over time, right? It's definitely going to impact our estrogen balance, estrogen dominance, and our hormone health, okay? So we want to be aware of physical stressors, those digestive imbalances, over exercise, emotional stressors. So when we aren't processing old grief and sadness, anger, and instead we're storing these emotions in our body, this can have a real significant impact, and we're really holding this stress in, and we really need to release that and process these emotions. It's so important. And mental stress. So what is the quality of our thoughts? If we are high perfectionists, if we are really constantly self-judging and self-criticizing ourselves, this can actually really impact this stress response and really lead to chronic stressful states, and certainly can set the stage for estrogen dominance. So those are some important strategies when it comes to really minimizing estrogen dominance. Okay, and the other thing that I want to mention is really combating that inflammation. Okay, so this is where we can look to food as medicine. This is something that I subscribe to. I think it's so important. And all of these incredible foods that are available to us in our food supply that are nutrient rich, they have the vitamins and minerals and plant compounds, antioxidants, right? All of these things that ultimately can really help support us in helping to manage chronic health problems, to reduce our risk for chronic health problems, and ultimately to live healthier and healthier lives, right? So when it comes to estrogen dominance, and we're really kind of trying to mitigate that inflammation, so we can really focus on anti-inflammatory foods. So these are going to be absolutely our fruits and vegetables, plant-based foods that are high in fiber, as I mentioned earlier. Omega-3 fatty acids are fantastic for their anti-inflammatory benefits, whether it's fatty fish or flaxseed and chia seed, right? So those are really important, and also kind of watching out for those processed foods and added sugars that, as I said, can really set the stage for inflammation in the body and trigger that estrogen dominance and those unwanted symptoms. So that is all I have today, and so I am letting you know if you have any questions. You're welcome to reach out to me directly, leave some comments, leave some questions in the comments. And if you go to my website at AllisonAceraNutrition.com and you're interested in working with me or understanding kind of the services that I offer, please go there and you can set up a complimentary call, and we can get on the phone and you can let me know how I can support you best. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.